If you've been declared dead on paper but are actually alive, what do you do? The morning sun gently illuminated the floral gazebo next to a snow-white house in the leafy suburb of Lakeview, not far from the metropolis of St. Louis, Missouri. Sophia Clark stood by the kitchen window, watching as her husband, Liam, got into his favorite blue Mercedes and slowly drove out of sight. Every day at 6:30 a.m., he left for work. Liam was an executive at the innovative company Cybernetic Solutions, and his days were filled with endless meetings, so he always came home very late. Still in the light shadow of her peach-colored pajamas, Sophia turned on the coffee maker, settling into the calm morning rituals of their 8-year marriage. Although neighbors sometimes wondered why the couple had no children, they were both busy with their own lives, and it didn't seem to be a problem for them. A note Liam had left the night before lay on the table, a short message in neat, feminine handwriting. Early flight to Chicago tomorrow, for 3 days. Love you. Every time Sophia saw that handwriting, she felt the same warm thrill as at the beginning of their life together. The aroma of coffee filled the kitchen, and Sophia stepped out into her small garden. The May morning was cool and dew glistened on the flowers. The garden was filled with her favorite hyacinths, jasmine, and brightly colored tulips. Local women often praised her green space, saying, "The Clarks have the prettiest garden in Lakeview." When Liam returned home, Sophia would have dinner ready and greet him with a warm smile. Despite his visible fatigue, he always praised her cooking. "This dish looks incredibly appetizing tonight, Soph." They spent their weekends together, either at the movies or the mall. Life was simple, unembellished, yet stable and comfortable. Lunches with neighbors, Jessica next door and Melanie across the street, were also a source of joy for Sophia. They helped each other, shared recipes, and offered support during difficult times. In the mornings, while doing her chores, Sophia's mind would wander to thoughts of Liam's career, their financial stability, and the future. Their 3-bedroom house, while not a mansion, was more than enough. The sudden sound of her phone interrupted her thoughts. It was a text from Liam. "Staying late tonight, sorry. Prepping for my trip tomorrow. Love you." Every time Sophia saw that handwriting, she felt the same warm thrill as at the beginning of their life together. A call from Jessica made her change her plans. "How about we all go shopping on Saturday? A new outlet just opened in town." Sophia gladly accepted the invitation. With Liam away on his business trip, she finally planned to take some time for herself. That evening, eating dinner alone and watching the news, Sophia found herself lost in thought. Their life was calm, without major upheavals, without children, but filled with deep mutual respect. Liam always emphasized that their time together was a precious thing that didn't need any excuses. Night fell and Sophia went to bed, thinking about the 3 days of solitude ahead. She planned to read the book she had started long ago, meet up with friends, and maybe experiment with some new recipes. She fell asleep with the light feeling of gratitude for their predictable yet cozy life. But Monday morning would gradually change everything. Monday morning started as usual. Sophia woke up before her alarm, hearing Liam rustle with his suitcase right beside her. It was only 5:30. "Good morning, my love," she said softly. Liam turned to her with a smile. "Sorry to wake you. It's a really early flight to Chicago." Sophia smiled back and offered to make him breakfast, but Liam explained he'd just grabbed coffee at the airport. There wasn't enough time. He had 3 days of important meetings ahead of him with potential partners, a key step for expanding cybernetic solutions to the West Coast. Before leaving, Liam, dressed in his classic dark suit, looked reliable and focused. They hugged, and then he walked to the waiting taxi in the crisp morning air, while Sophia stood on the porch, waving until he disappeared in the distance. Returning to the empty house, Sophia felt a strange emptiness. The silence usually suited her, but today there was a sense of unease. She brewed her coffee and sat by the window, looking at the blooming garden, where she was the only one. At 9 o'clock, Sophia called Jessica, hoping to reschedule their planned lunch. Understanding the situation, her friend offered warm support and advised her to use the time for herself. She chose her outfit carefully, a delicate turquoise dress and her favorite pearls, a subtle nod to her mood. As Sophia sat in front of the mirror, her thoughts bounced between the upcoming shopping trip and new recipes. The day outside was bright and cool, and to the tune of a light melody on the radio, she set off toward new experiences. Although it was a typical weekday, the Westgate Plaza Mall was buzzing with life. Salespeople smiled and shoppers bustled between the bright storefronts. Her first stop was her favorite designer's boutique. A bright red dress caught her eye immediately. Satin fabric and an elegant knee-length hem. The saleswoman enthusiastically encouraged her to try it on. In the mirror, Sophia saw a new version of herself, vibrant, a little rebellious, and full of confidence. Buying the dress was a small celebration she allowed herself. Next came a pair of black high heels and tiny diamond earrings, details that highlighted her new style. Sophia had lunch at an Italian cafe with a terrace, enjoying white wine and aromatic chicken parmesan. At a nearby table, a young couple laughed, and a little further away, a woman and her daughter were sharing moments of pure joy. Being around others didn't make her feel lonely. On the contrary, it was her conscious decision to enjoy her time alone. Afternoon, Sophia left the mall feeling content and satisfied. The highway was quiet, and her favorite songs played on the radio. She hummed quietly, feeling a sense of lightness and freedom. She was already thinking about how she would surprise Liam with the new dress when the flashing red and blue lights of a police car in her rearview mirror made her heart sink. This can't be happening to me, Sophia thought, slowly pulling over. Sophia slowly pulled her car to the side of the road, turned off the engine, and took her passport and documents out of her purse. Her heart was beating faster, and her thoughts were a jumble. What for? Just for speeding? The police officer got out of his car, his movements calm, but his expression severe. He walked to her window, greeted her politely, and asked for her documents. Sophia smiled, trying to reassure herself, it's probably just a warning. However, when the officer returned to his car and spent a long time on his radio, her anxiety grew. For a few more minutes, the silence was broken only by the sound of traffic. Then, a second patrol car unexpectedly arrived, and a senior officer with stern features got out. The two began a hushed conversation, glancing in her direction. Sophia felt a cold sweat on her palms. 10 minutes later, the younger officer returned, his face a mix of concern and confusion. "You're Sophia Clark, right?" he asked, as if hesitant. Sophia confirmed it, but she sensed that everything was about to change. "We need to check something," the officer began, looking closely at her documents. After a pause, he added, "According to our records, you're listed in the registry of the deceased for 3 years now." It sounded like a terrible joke, but the officer continued seriously. "According to the records, Sophia Clark, born August 12, 1987, was declared deceased on March 20th, 2022. Sophia just offered a nervous laugh in response. "But I'm right here. I'm alive." She pointed to her face, her hands, anything that could prove her reality. The senior officer came closer, watching silently. Sophia felt scared. "This is impossible. I have a normal life. I have bank accounts, a driver's license, a husband." Her voice trembled. "Who's your husband?" the officer asked sharply. "Liam Clark. He's on a business trip to Chicago," Sophia replied, her mind swirling with unanswered questions. "You need to come with us to the station," the younger officer said in a serious tone. "This is a case of possible identity theft and fraud. We need to check everything thoroughly." Sophia was in shock. How could this have happened? How could she have been killed on paper? And who had betrayed her so deeply? She felt completely lost, but understood that her perfect world was now shattering into tiny fragments. At the station, the cold gray walls enveloped her, and the bright fluorescent lights added to the sense of finality. Detectives went through a pile of documents, talking to the lawyer Sofia had called in a panic. Among the evidence was a forged death certificate with Liam's signature. This fact pierced Sofia with a sharp pain. Her husband was involved. Then, a more horrifying revelation came to light. Liam was living with another woman on the other side of the country, using forged documents to legitimize the theft of a $5 million insurance payout. Photos of Liam's life with his new partner showed a happy couple, as if they had stolen her destiny. Stunned by the betrayal and deception, Sofia realized that for the past 3 years, her entire life had been a falsehood. Liam had meticulously hidden the truth, manipulating her non-existence in official records while living his own life. The detectives explained that due to the forged documents, Sofia's social security number, health insurance, and driver's license had all been canceled. She officially didn't exist. The lawyer promised to immediately start the process of restoring her legal status, although he warned it would be long and complicated. Liam, meanwhile, faced serious charges of fraud, forgery, and identity theft, all of which could lead to a long prison sentence. Sofia felt an unbearable pain as her trust and love turned into a catastrophe. But even in her darkest moments, she decided to fight, to reclaim her life, a real and honest one. The days proved to be more difficult than Sofia could have imagined. The process of restoring her legal status was long, complicated, and exhausting. She signed countless documents, provided numerous affidavits, and steadfastly proved one thing: she was alive. Thanks to her lawyer's persistence, everything gradually fell into place. Liam was sentenced to a lengthy term, 15 years, for fraud, forgery, and identity theft. His accomplice received 5 years in prison. The doctor who signed the fake papers became a notorious figure. His medical license was revoked, and he was also incarcerated. The feeling of betrayal was piercing, as the pain came not only from Liam's actions but also from the years of friendship destroyed by lies. But amidst the losses, a new hope emerged. The $5 million the insurance company had paid out was recovered, and most of her ex-husband's assets were transferred to Sofia as compensation. With these funds, she took a bold step. She opened her own cafe, New Life. The morning light streamed into the cozy space, which was filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the warmth of a homey atmosphere. The festive spirit was maintained by photographs of the flowers she herself had grown and knitted blankets on the soft couches. Her friends who had stayed by her side helped her remain strong. They often said, "Trust is easily lost, but true friendship is indestructible." The cafe also had a special drink called the New Life Latte, which reflected her inner transformation. One day, a young couple walked into the cafe. They recognized her from a newspaper article titled "The Woman Who Came Back from the Dead." The man shyly asked, "Are you really that woman, the one who was declared dead?" Sofia replied with confidence, "Yes, I'm alive. Life isn't chosen for us, but we can choose how to live it." The story that began with betrayal and delusions was slowly turning into one of rebirth, strength, and truth. In the evening, sitting alone in her cafe, Sofia looked at her new driver's license, the confident and calm face of a woman who had weathered storms but hadn't been broken. The local newspaper article had ended with her words, "Now I'm living for the moment. It's better to choose the hardships of truth than a sweet lie, because that's what real life is." Outside, under the orange sunset, the new life sign glowed softly in the evening darkness. Sophia turned off the lights, locked the door, and looking up at the sky where the first stars were beginning to twinkle, she said to herself, "Despite everything, the future is up to me." And so, one chapter ended and a completely different one began, a true and free one.